After 2 years, I'm happy to participate in the conference again. And today, I would like to present my research. As during the previous conference, it's dedicated to description logic-based formal representations. But now, I'm working on adjectives. So today, I'm going to present the result of my research work. Just a minute. So let's start. This research is intended to provide a comprehensive system of rules designed for formal representation of adjectives semantics using description logic. The system is supposed to account for both attributive and predicative adjectives involved in different syntactic relations. The resultant system is supposed to be integrated into the system aimed at semi-automatic production of description logic definitions, DL definitions, as I call it for short. And these definitions are supposed to be applied to represent query semantics in the process of question answering, also to specify lexicon unit semantics through interrelated ontology units, and to bridge gaps within class and property taxonomies of domain ontologies. For the purpose of formal representation, we implement concept and flow constructors that are applied in solid and soft description logics. We adhere to this formalism since they are compatible with web ontology language standards. And compositional type theoretic semantics are implemented in order to obtain formal representations of adjectives and to introduce them in real definitions. Three type combinations are utilized. The first one here is reserved specifically for a phrase introducing a defined term. It is essentially the subject of the main clause of natural language definition, which introduces a defined domain term. The second and the third are reserved for organelles of the syntactic tree of the natural language definition. The second type marks functions, and the third arguments of the functions. Although theoretic semantics is applied during the process of evaluation of the rules, it is used to study meanings rendered by concept descriptions that we obtain by using the proposed system of rules. If the interpretation functions return non-empty subsets or the domain of reference, concept descriptions are considered to be satisfiable. This is how actually the evaluation of the system will be conducted. Several assumptions underlie the current research. First of all, the semantic value of an adjective can be defined twofold. Depending on the syntactic context, an adjective can be used as a property modifier and thereby introduce a function, or it is supposed to be property denoting and even valid as an argument of the function. In order to represent subjective and non-subjective adjectives in the attributive function, we introduce roles that represent subjective adjectives and bind a set of observers with a set of observed objects, domains and ranges. We introduce roles that represent non-subjective adjectives and bind a set of adjective-specified entities as a domain and a set of non-specified entities as range. In order to represent subjective and privative adjectives in predicative function, like in the sentence, Danny is skillful, the document is paid, we presume adjective-nominated concepts to know domains of adjective-nominated roles, like in concept inclusion axioms that I give here for skillful and for fake. So these are actually the rules and interpretations for satisfiability check of the rules. The first column introduces 9 rules for Dale-based formal representation of adjectives. The first 3 are intended to render attributive adjectives, and the following rules were designed for predicative adjectives. The second column introduces interpretations of the concept descriptions obtained by virtue of the rules. If set obtained by interpretation can be found in a domain, the rules are supposed to have been applied successfully. In order to test the proposed system of rules, 400 syntactic units containing adjectives were retrieved and formalized. Attributive and predicative adjectives were equally represented in both languages. The precision of formalization rules for both attributive and predicative adjectives is high. It means around 90% and above. Now I'm moving to rules and examples. The first rule designed for formal representation of intersective adjectives in an attributive function is applied successfully. Here, as you can see, an adjective translated as linguistic introduces a function that returns an intersection of 2 atomic concepts. The second rule is implemented for the formal representation of successive adjectives in an attributive function. An adjective meaning major, in Russian, introduces a function that returns a concept description. This description defines a subset denoted by adjective noun compound, a major function. Here, within a set of entities denoted by the noun phrase function. The third rule is used for formal representation of non-subjective adjectives. We use it for plain non-subjective adjectives like alleged and privative, such as fake. An adjective meaning erroneous represents a function that imposes an existential restriction on an adjective nominated role by virtue of a concept represented by a modified noun, impression. And even though the rules made for description logic-based formal representation of attributive adjectives may appear to be flawless at first sight, yet there are some problematic cases and some mistakes. The subjective adjective adjacent yields a binary relation between entities of a set denoted by a modified noun position. So when we speak about adjacent positions, we mean to say that there are at least 2 positions that are adjacent to each other. But if we use this very rule, it seems that we correlate some kind of observers with a set of positions. And this is why this rule actually fails. Now we move to the rules designed to represent predicative adjectives. Rule 4 provides a formal account of the predicative adjective, which may be identical. Within the example, the adjective requires a semantic value of an argument, and the function is introduced by the head of the verb phrase. The fourth rule is used when a predicative adjective doesn't have any complements. And the fifth rule binds a predicative adjective feasible with used within an open predicative complement within the sentence that acknowledges make overlap feasible. Rule 5 labels the adjective with the role of a function that returns and includes an action, and this action defines a subset denoted by the noun phrase. Rule life in the set of feasible entities. Rule 6 represents a predicative adjective clause related to a noun phrase, to the noun phrase case assignment used as an oblique argument. The adjective introduces a function which applies the noun phrase case designer as an argument. The argument that imposes an existential restriction on the role nominated by the adjective clause. It is necessary to emphasize that the noun phrase is introduced within a prepositional phrase, and the head of this prepositional phrase, the preposition to, undergoes concatenation with the adjective in the process of formalization. And that's why we actually have this nomination close to instead of just close. The predicative adjective, translated as exact, is used in the predicative function and attaches an open predicative adjunct within the sentence. The writer is exact, describing the heroine. Rule 7 introduces the adjective as a function that returns an intersection of the atomic concept nominated by the adjective and a concept description represented by the related verb phrase describing the heroine. This verb phrase is related to the adjective as an open predicative adjunct. The predicative adjective sufficient governs an open predicative complement. Within the sentence, the degree of aperture is sufficient to produce air turbulence. The open predicative complement to produce air turbulence has its predicate expressed by which of the verb produce used in the infinitive form. For this reason, Rule 8 is applied to render an atomic concept sufficient, subsumed by the concept which is introduced by the verb to produce air turbulence. The predicative adjective slow governs an open predicative complement within the sentence. Separation is slow to produce audible friction. The open predicative complement to produce audible friction has its predicate expressed by virtue of the verb produce used in the infinitive form. For this reason, the atomic concept slow is supposed to be subsumed by the verb phrase introduced concept description. But Rule 9 is applied here to add negation constructor in the resulting description, because the adjective slow is used to mean that agent characterized by the adjective, this is separation, does not perform the production of audible friction. And now I would love to draw your attention to some of the errors which arise when we apply rules for formalization of predicative adjectives. Rules number 7, 8, and 9, which are intended to render predicative adjective with a related verb phrase used as a complement or an adjunct. They fail to produce valid concept descriptions in case predicative adjective and predicate incorporated into an attached verb phrase imply different agents as their arguments. The failure of the rule 8 is observed here as an example. The function introduced by the predicative adjective easy returns an unsatisfiable concept description. The members of the set of affricates characterized as easy cannot make a subset of the domain of the relation denoted by the verb define. In other words, affricates do not define anything, and that's why rule 8 fails. Rule number 7 also fails in case a predicative adjective binds a verb phrase incorporated in a prepositional phrase. Within the current example, the adjective capable is used to characterize speech organs as objects capable of producing speech sounds. Is intended to render a binary relation on the domain. In order to produce a valid concept description, Rule 7 has to use a role to define an adjective capable. In the illustrated sentence, it should be made in a similar way to the Rule 6, which also deals with prepositional complements. So at this point, the Rule 7 should be extended. And the last problem I would like to discuss today arises when a predicative adjective and a predicate of an attached complement adjunct are related to the same subject, but the subject refers to a set of events. The case is illustrated by the sentence translated from Russian as the man finds it enjoyable to pay bank checks. Rule 8 was used to obtain a formal representation of the adjective phrase with semantics, but the application was unsuccessful because the phrase enjoyable to fake bank checks clearly denoted a specific subset of events. Nevertheless, we haven't introduced an elementary type to refer to a domain of events, and we cannot do without it here because there is no such entity on the domain that could be characterized as enjoyable and produce fake bank checks at the same time. And now I'm going to move to conclusions. As a result of the conducted research, a comprehensive set of description logic-based a comprehensive set of rules for description logic-based formal representation of attributive and predicative adjectives was devised. The proposed system has both advantages and disadvantages. The first feature I would like to note is the usability of the system, because it can formalize adjectives used in different syntactic contexts. Specifically, predicative adjectives might be related to a number of verb and noun phrases performing various grammatical functions. Secondly, it should be mentioned that a novel technique for subjective and non-subjective adjective formalization was introduced when existential restrictions on roles were implemented for the representation of attributive adjectives. Finally, the flexibility of the system should be emphasized since both concepts and roles are used to represent adjective semantics regarding the syntactic context at hand. On the other hand, we should bear in mind that the proposed system was initially intended to provide satisfiable descriptions of subsets denoted by defined terms within description logic-based definition, rather than to provide accurate formal representations of all the possible syntactic structures applied in natural language definitions that we formalize. Therefore, the devised system of rules has to be augmented with the formalization solutions introduced for specific syntactic structures that cannot be handled otherwise. That's all I was going to say today, and I will readily answer all the questions if there are any. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you. Questions?
That it is very good that there is a system that formalizes adjective semantics by the formalism of description logic. And my question is there any ontology or lexicon that implements the system you described, or there is not any implementation and there is only a system of rules?
No, there are no practical implementations yet because I have just developed this system and represented today, and I think this is yet to come because apart from some solutions for representation of adjectives, I also need to put in a lot of efforts to devise the whole system for description logic based definitions, and only the whole system can be implemented to enhance some lexicons for domain ontologies, I mean. And of course, I hope that the system of formalization will be introduced in some lexicon models such as Koblenz-Landau, for example, because it still lacks comprehensive description logic-based definitions of semantics. So they introduce semantics only by mapping lexicon units to units of an ontology. This is one-to-one correlation, actually. And I hope that one day description logic-based definitions will help to introduce semantics more accurately and more comprehensively by mapping a lexicon unit to a network of interrelated ontology units. So that's. I hope I've answered your question.
Yes, thank you. Especially good that there are some plans to integrate your ontology with linguistic linked open data formalisms such as lemon for representation lexicons. It's very great.
This research that I made is just a part of a bigger picture, bigger plan.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, thank you again.